Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with veteran New York jazz pianist Greg Murphy. We caught up with him in late February about his latest 2021 CD, Cool Water, on Whaling City Sound. He talked about upcoming live gigs and how he's been doing during COVID-19, along with hope for the future and a little bit more. Enjoy.
Dealing with life on life's terms, as they say.
Yeah, right. There's a monopoly on that down here now.
Yeah.
As we've all punched our ticket into crazy town, for sure.
I hear you.
I guess the one thing that's good about what's going on is I'm always reassured that the world of jazz is continuing to do what it always does, which is no matter what. And I would say this COVID world and this racial upheaval and this realm of America we've entered into is definitely whatever is happening, you're going to overcome. And I love getting new music, and seeing Cool Water come in was very refreshing, to put it mildly.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, it's great, man. It's a bold sound, and it's kind of a part of what I'm starting to notice. There's kind of a new level of sound and vigor that's going into some of these releases. Not that there wasn't before, but it just seems like there's a little bit of oomph in here that's very refreshing. Thanks for sending this to me. Thanks for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Joe.
So before we get into everything, let's start at kind of the alpha of this insane thing that we're all living through called COVID-19. And tell me, what was your last gig like before the shutdown, like maybe last March?
Last March, I had a trio gig planned at the University of Chicago, and then I was able to hook up another gig in Wisconsin with the same trio. So we were able to do the one in Wisconsin with some Chicago cats, great musicians, and the one at the University of Chicago got canceled. So it was I drove to Chicago, and I had a keyboard there at my mom's house, and so I went up to Wisconsin and did the gig, and then we were back and forth. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? So the UFC decided to cancel. And then at that time it was getting, and I usually stay with my mom, and she said, basically, I'm not comfortable with you going back and forth, playing gigs, playing hockey, even though everything was getting shut down, hockey was getting shut down. But so I was able to stay in Chicago a little longer, and by just, staying at some hotels downtown. And fortunately, through I've been working at a place called Lorenzo's in Staten Island, and they made me an employee, even though I'm not technically an employee. I'm still a self-employed independent contractor, but they allowed me to get the employee discount for the hotels. So I was able to stay at some nice hotels for very inexpensive, and I can still do that today to get the employee rate. So that kind of helped with my little pandemic last gig in Chicago.
Yeah. So how have you been doing this year?
I've been okay. The project has kept me busy. And I've done little gigs here and there over the last year, and we just started back up at Lorenzo's Valentine's Day, so I'm basically on the slate to play there once a week, and less money, but so gigs are sparse, but I'm surviving.
So this new album, you got a really great power lineup, including Jeff Dane Watts on here, Cool Water, love the artwork, everything about this just feels good. Talk to me a little bit about not only from an artistic perspective what you were going for, but what it's like to release this during this brand new 2021 year where the pandemic is still going on.
Well, it's huge for me because, music, when it's done right, it brings back memories, it makes you feel good, it inspires positivity for me. And, I was just listening to some old music today, and my favorite music from my childhood, it brings back memories. It brings me back to that time and place. So, so modern music, stuff that's made today, hopefully that has an effect on future generations. You think about, I think about Chick Corea and his music and how that was, as a lot of people say, the soundtrack to their youth. For my generation, I grew up on his music. And so, music is positive, and it's just great to be able to bring, to get the support of Whaling City Sound, to get the support of the musicians, and part of the beauty of it was musicians were available. So, silver lining stuff. It's not beautiful that we didn't have any gigs and people were losing their lives left and right. People were available, so I was able to get some great musicians who wouldn't normally be as available. Their slates were open, so I was able to.
Yeah.
So, and then and my niece did the artwork, and I just kind of discovered that she was a great artist. She's in her early 20s, and so she did the cover art, and that was huge. And she's starting to get some. She did something for the Sacramento Kings for Black History Month a couple of weeks ago. So it's great for all that stuff to come together, and the whole concept of the album is I wanted it to be Afrocentric, African-centric, because my wife and I took a trip to Kenya, and that's really kind of that's the first recording for the album was from Kenya. It was of the Maasai women singing their welcome and greeting song when we visited their village, to talk about global warming and stuff like that. So that. So
that's wonderful.
I'm excited that there's a lot of female energy, positive female energy on this recording from the person that did the artwork, the booklet. My niece, she did the cover design, and then the Marianne Rossini did the booklet. Maureen Sickler, she was the initial engineer at Rudy Van Gelder's studio. She was Rudy's assistant for 20 years. So Sheila Anderson did the liner notes. Kaisa Dumbe Malongo, she sang on it. So it's nice to have some. Even though I didn't have a lot of female musicians, or no, actually Kaisa played percussion.
It was a real co-ed project.
Yeah, it was a group. It was a village, inspired project. Yeah. In a sense that it takes a village to do it. So there's a lot of people came together, and I was really excited about the overall results.
What do you ultimately want the listener that downloads this and gets this album to feel about this project?
Family, friendship, camaraderie, cooperation, inclusion. I think that's something that as a nation we need to embrace inclusion and healing. There's still a lot of there's a lot of divisiveness. Even with it's funny that the song I wrote, "You Decide," was a long time ago, and I recorded it with a drum machine in the 80s with a friend Ernest Bell in Chicago. We were in this band, and there's another song that we recorded at the same time called "Machines Come Alive," and the Terminator came out, and we're talking about I'm trying to make the connection to the algorithms that if you've seen the movie The Social Dilemma, or basically the fact that machines can go if they're unchecked, the statistics we use, the algorithms that have created divisions among people. It's like people are getting hoodwinked into voting and voting against their best interests. They're advocating, not even really knowing that universal health care is so necessary in this country. So I don't want to get into all the politics stuff, but it's part of the whole. We realize now that we're all family. The whole, it's like, it's not us against them. It's like we all need to be included in the plan of getting this planet back together. So there's we can't just keep going in the direction we are, which is a greed-based mentality. We have to be inclusive. We have to consider the next person as a family member.
So what do you miss the most about that old world of ours that we used to live in?
Performing and going out to hear other people perform, being in proximity with other people, enjoying jazz, because jazz is you need to be there to really experience, it's nice that our online platforms are improving and we're able to do things, but, I miss the in-person stuff, I was able to do a couple gigs, I think maybe a couple in-person gigs where maybe a couple people were there. And it's like, it's just weird, it's just difficult. I miss being able to talk to people, able to, sit down at a table and have a meal with people. So, I miss being able to play and hearing music up front,
Yeah. When we do come back and you're on the bandstand and we're in the audience, what do you hope we all realize about this long time away from live music? Things that are lasting that we feel about this whole process.
Well, I mean, there's a beauty to the acoustics of, especially, I tell some of my students about the difference between a keyboard and an acoustic piano, and the vibrations and the overtones, and when you're hearing, even if the piano's amplified and the bass is amplified, I just love the fact that real instruments, hearing real wood vibrate, and it's more than just the sound. It's something else that comes from a bandstand. The energy, the ups and downs, the risk take, it's like, it's some different stuff that you feel live, and the feeling and the healing energy of beautiful musicians, and when they project their art up front, I can't wait to get back to that, and I hope we get back to that soon.
Yeah, I do too, for sure. Hey, Greg, thanks again for reaching out with Cool Water. Good luck with it. Good luck on the return to the stage too.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in New York, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Greg for his time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.